Welcome to a busted play. An illegal use of hands to the face short.
Duh, 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 duh. Thursday Night Football again. Now this feels like a real Thursday Night Football matchup between two teams that really are like good because like together their winning percentage is .750. But do we believe it? And I can't necessarily say that I believe it. And I think one of them has a huge advantage, but actually coming out of it will have a record that indicates that they're a very good team, but maybe not quite that. So what are we thinking going into Thursday Night Football for the Panthers and Texans?
I mean, I've been believing in the Panthers, man. I've had them picked to win the past 2 weeks in the games that they've played in, uh, but they haven't been playing against real opponents. I mean, that Saints game, right? They played the Saints last week. No one saw that except me. Uh, but with how the Packers' offense just sputtered out against the Saints, I don't want to get into that. They're going up against a Houston team whose defense is not very good and offensive line is very good. That's unfortunate for Houston because during these past two games, I know I raved about Carolina's secondary when I talked about why they beat the Saints. Uh, Going back and looking at Carolina games closer, that front seven of theirs has been dominating the O lines that they've been playing against. And for Houston, that sucks because their O line is not very good, even if they have Laramie Tunsil out there. And you know what? I could look past that if Tyrod Taylor was the starting quarterback and could maneuver his way in the pocket and roll out of the pocket and make plays outside of the pocket. The QB that they're going to be starting on Thursday night cannot do any of that. He needs a clean pocket in order to complete passes. I don't think Houston's going to be able to provide him with that this upcoming Thursday night game.
Yeah, there's definitely just a sense of like how much do I trust these quarterbacks? And I know people are not in love with Sam Darnold probably yet, but I can tell you that I like him a lot more than I think most people do. And I can also tell you that Davis Mills is not a guy that I'm expecting to do much of anything. Honestly, if Davis Mills like plays like a game manager type role, I will be like, wow, he played a heck of a game because I would even be shocked to see that, frankly. Just because I think he's going to be so under duress, as you said, from the Carolina pass rush and everything else that could go against him. The nice thing, though, is that this offseason, the Texans have really built up guys that are veterans. So, I mean, he's got a lot of guys with experience around him. Maybe that could help him. But, I mean, there's not a ton of talent on that offense in terms of just like, hey, we need a guy that we can guaranteed go to here, like, say, a superstar or something. Closest thing they have is Brandon Cooks, and we love Brandon Cooks, but I don't know if we can give him that much respect. And I agree with you. It's going to be pretty hard for him to put together enough to beat the Panthers.
Only the Texans had like a top three wide receiver in the league on their team. DeAndre Hopkins, I guess. If they had someone like him on the team, maybe it'd be easier on Davis Mills. But unfortunately, those guys aren't a dime a dozen, and the Texans just haven't been able to get their hands on one of them. But yeah, having just Brandon Cooks be the number one receiver and kind of the only receiver in that offense for Davis Mills is not conducive for him to perform well. The offensive line is not conducive. I mean, the depth at tight end, that helps, but I mean, they have their. I looked at the depth charts before we talked here. Brevin Jordan is the bottom tight end, and
Yes.
they used a pick on him. I hate that. Absolutely hate that.
Well, I mean, we knew that before the season even started, so
hmm
I don't know how surprised we are. As for looking at the Texans' defense as opposed to just the offense, I'm gonna be very interested to see this unit for the first time because I don't see a ton of guys that stand out as like players on the defensive line that I'm really like ready to be like, oh my, he's gonna really be able to have a big impact on the game. So I'm gonna be watching their pass rush a lot. I think they've got a decent amount of names at the linebacker and secondary positions that are at least competent enough. But really, I'll be focusing on their D line in terms of what can their defense do against the Carolina offense. Anything you're specifically looking at for the Texans on defense?
Not really looking for anything specific. Just I want to. I mean, one of the beautiful things of looking at these bad teams, at least going back when we did our recaps of teams and our predictions this offseason, was seeing guys that just really like pop off on film that you have no clue who they are. I feel like the Texans definitely are going to be a team that provides you with guys that you have no idea who they are. It's just I want to see someone pop off tape, but that defense, I mean, they had a kind of an exodus of talent, just through trades where it's like, Shaq Lawson, you're our best D lineman. We'll trade you for pennies on the dollar. Bradley Roby, you want to get out of here? Sure. It just, and those were probably the two best defensive players on the team, and then they just ship them off because, I mean, they're trying to get back value because they used all these late round picks to bring in Ryan Izzo, who they then cut.
I will say that if there's one thing on the Texans defense that could swing this game, and it takes probably a perfectly managed game from Davis Mills for this to even be possible, right? Is the fact that they have kind of a vet-heavy secondary, and if they could force a few turnovers from Sam Darnold while, our boy Davis Mills just takes care of the football, doesn't turn it over, which is probably a hard ask considering rookie, not first-round QB, getting his first real start. But if that can happen, and then these guys can trick Sam Darnold into some bad throws, that is a way that the Texans could potentially pull off this upset. And they're the home team, which gives them a slight advantage, so maybe that'll help them.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I'd be shocked if the Texans win this game. I'd just be surprised that they played a perfect game in order to win it. Because the one game that they played against Jacksonville and they won, that wasn't a perfect game. They're just playing against the team that is, like, not very, I'm not going to say built. I don't know, not composed at this point in the season. But, I mean, Carolina has the same problem that Jacksonville did in that law, or when they beat Jacksonville. They don't really have an offensive line. So, I mean, they could take advantage of that. Obviously, they did, and that's what created the turnovers. But if Sam Darnold's going to be a little bit more poised than Trevor Lawrence, at least at this point, where they are now. And I think Sam Darnold has some better weapons. At least he has more chemistry with the guys than, or at least more chemistry with Robbie Anderson than Trevor Lawrence had with his guys.
Yeah.
I mean, David Moore would be a perfect guy in this game. Just kill him underneath, but fortunately, you just got to cut him for some reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've still got DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall Jr. I'll be interested to look at. Christian McCaffrey, obviously, arguably the best running back in the game. All pieces for Sam Darnold to deal to, and not even to mention our favorite name combination, Dan Arnold and Sam Darnold, will have the potential to hook up. And I don't think that I don't think that the Texans have enough on defense to slow it down. And even then, there's other fun guys on this Panthers offense that they could get creative using, like Tommy Tremble or Shy Smith, just like other really interesting guys and pieces that they could move around. Even Chuba Hubbard. It's just they've got a ton of stuff and they've got a ton of different directions they could go. And I don't know if the Texans are going to be able to match up well enough against them. I really don't think they're going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, the Panthers spent all of the draft last year picking up defensive talent. They didn't draft a single offensive player, and now they picked up some real fun guys on offense that I loved looking at pre-draft.
Yeah,
and I'm excited to get a peek at those guys. I don't know how much Shy Smith's going to play, but I loved watching him. Tommy Tremble, though, that guy's the next George Kittle. So, I mean, Matt Rule, Joe Brady, utilize him, please.
If you're right, I'll be shocked. Brian Burns, Yetur Gross-Matos, Derek Brown, Hassan Reddick, all names on the defensive line that scare me for a variety of reasons. And I think that makes, like you said, this pass rush could really get after the Texans in this game. Moving to like the off-ball linebackers, there's not a ton I love here. It's basically just Shaq Thompson, and the other guys are like, all right. But then you get to the secondary again, and it's like they've got a lot of depth at the cornerback position. They got AJ Boye, J.C. Horn, Dante Jackson, um, just a ton of other guys too. The safety position, they've got one of our favorite underrated players in the league, Jeremy Chin, and just off all that, I think that the Panthers have a just better roster than the Texans, which isn't shocking no matter who the Texans are going up against. But since we're talking about this matchup specifically, I think they're a little more talented, and it doesn't help that the Texans don't even have their starting quarterback.
Yeah, I feel like if this game was just a 1 o'clock game and we were picking them and I had to get an upset in there, I'd probably make this one of my upset games. But having to actually like put a lens on it really and focus in on it a bit more, I just can't see myself doing it with the talent that Carolina has.
Nope, me neither. So we're both going Carolina, but final score, we got to get it. What's it going to be?
Uh, 30-27.
That close.
Yeah.
How about 31-10? Let's do that. Give me Carolina 31-10. That way my expectations are low. If the game's a lot closer, I'll be happy. We're rooting for the underdog. Go Texans, expecting Carolina to win though. Y'all set?
Yep. I think we can cut this here.